Thousands of Huhugam petroglyphs that are over 1,000 years old are all different things that add up to South Mountain Park being one of the Phoenix points of pride.
Hi, my name is Karina Kopikar, and I'm a junior at Chaparral High School.
To show all the organization does on, but especially off the field. It's my honor to introduce Eric Moses.
So we've been waiting for almost 4 weeks for these teams to emerge, and emerge they did. There were some great games yesterday. Judy got to see the folks down at the Sugar Bowl and still was able to get back here on time, which is quite a feat. And I was down at the Cotton Bowl seeing Miami surprise most of the college football world and advance to the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Not all of it. Mike wasn't surprised at all. Look, the road to the national championship runs through the Valley, and we're excited about that, to be able to host another semifinal here where the winner will advance to the national championship. You know, the economic impact that this game and the surrounding activities provide to the Valley is about $200 million, which is really significant for our hotel partners. Yeah, that's worth clapping for. Our hotel partners, our hospitality partners, obviously the airport and other businesses here locally. That's why these events are so important. But more importantly, as Mike alluded to, the Fiesta Sports Foundation really is about giving back to community.
She led the events like the CFP National Championship, Final Four, Super Bowls. As Assistant Aviation Director, Chief Revenue Officer, she leads the Phoenix Airport System Revenue Strategy. Please welcome Roxanne Favors.
Front desk. Welcome to our multi-purpose room. This room is designed to have special events, meetings, take classes. It seats anywhere between 80 to 100 people and is reservable. This is our beautiful courtyard, along with lawn games where families can come and enjoy the beautiful Arizona weather. This space is also available to reserve for special occasions and special gatherings. And this is our beautiful teaching style kitchen that we have here at the Cesar Chavez Community Center. It is designed to teach classes here in our community. So if you're interested in cooking 101 or maybe baking, this might be a good class for you to come and take. We have stoves, refrigerators, microwaves, and I know this will be a great place for you to come and enjoy and learn to cook. And this is our wonderful game room space where it's designed for youth and adults to come hang out and engage in a friendly game of pool table, hockey, or foosball. This is also a great space for parents to come hang out while their children are taking classes here at our lovely community center. This is one of the amenities that is included in your membership here at the Cesar Chavez Community Center. And this is our beautiful upstairs fitness center that is designed with cardio machines, free weights, weight machines, and if fitness is one of your goals, this might be a place for you. Out here, we have this beautiful view of the Estrella Mountains, where while you're working out, you can have a great view here. This also has an outdoor space that is designed to take a class, maybe like an outdoor yoga or meditation class. Also a reservable space, so if you have a meeting and you'd like to enjoy the beautiful weather here in Laveen, this might be the spot for you. And this is our wonderful indoor walking track. So if you don't want to be outside, you want to get out of the sun for a little bit, you can come in here and take some laps. It is used to walk or run, and keep in mind 14 laps is 1 mile. To the side, you will see all of our Levine historic photos. These photos date back to the 50s, and you will see some of the lovely traditions that still happen here in the Levine Village, such as the barbecue parade and the Levine Parade.
Welcome to the 2026 NCAA Women's Final Four Tip-Off Press Conference. My name is Autumn Johnson. I am the host and reporter of March Madness Women's Basketball. And today I have the honor and privilege of being your MC for this conference to get us ready for the Final Four here in Phoenix. How are we feeling? Yes. In fact, this is the first time since Denver 2012 that we'll bring the Final Four back to the West Coast. We are so excited, and we can't wait to see which 4 teams will meet us here today. Jam-packed hour ahead of us. You'll hear from many key people and also partners involved in making this championship experience the best of the best. We'll talk about the Women's Final Four, what it means to women's basketball, the community, and fans. So let's get right into it. Please help me welcome the CEO of the Phoenix Final Four Local Organizing Committee, Jay Perry. Autumn, thank you so much. We love the pink suit here in Phoenix. You're rocking it. And good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Phoenix Final Four Local Organizing Committee, thank you for being here to tip off this amazing event that we are so excited to host. In just a few weeks, Phoenix will host the Women's Final Four for the first time. And at this moment, it's incredible when women's basketball is capturing more attention, more energy, more enthusiasm than ever before. We're seeing record-breaking attendance, incredible viewership, and just fans showing up in really powerful ways, not just across our country, but across the world. Last year at the Women's Final Four in Tampa, we saw fans travel from 50 states, but also 23 countries. This is definitely a global game, and all of them want to be a part of this championship experience. That is the reach of this game. And here in Arizona, we're ready to not only meet that moment, but to exceed expectations and make this the best women's Final Four yet. Right? As Autumn said, today we're 37 days away from Friday, April 3rd, when the semifinals will tip off right here at the amazing Mortgage Matchup Center. We're looking forward to 3 unforgettable basketball games. And almost as important, we're also looking forward to the larger impact the championship will have on our state. The Women's Final Four will drive tourism and economic activity across Arizona. It'll create philanthropic benefit through many programs we're doing in the community and shine a global spotlight on Arizona as a world-class destination, as a place to live, as a place to do business, and of course to host major mega sporting events like the Women's Final Four. We are in excellent shape from a planning and preparation standpoint, and we're ready to deliver an extraordinary experience for student athletes, for the fans, for the media, and of course for our community. There are countless people to thank for getting ready and getting us to this point to bring this championship to life, and I want to mention just a few. First, the NCAA, Lynn Holzman, and her staff. Thank you for entrusting us with this major basketball event, and thank you for letting us work alongside you to make this really a phenomenal women's Final Four. We could not be more excited about it. To our host institution, I agree, let's clap for them. To our host institution, Arizona State University, Graham Rossini, his staff, we thank you for collaborating with us and really supporting the student-athlete experience and also just the championship at the very highest level. And Player 15 Group, Josh Bartelstein, you'll hear from, Paul Rivers, your team, thank you for opening your home to us to create what's going to be an incredible environment for this championship inside Mortgage Matchup Center. And of course, thank you to all of our local supporting partners. Many of you are here today. We couldn't do it without this incredible team in Arizona, and everybody is really coming together to make this a special event in 37 days. Today, you'll hear from leaders who are helping shape the championship, but also shape the women's game, with conversations around the future game, the growth of the game, the fan experience, and then the community impacts that'll be happening here in Arizona. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is a strong supporter of major events, and especially of the women's Final Four. So come event week, the world's eyes will be on downtown Phoenix, and all the stakeholders in downtown Phoenix have rallied to elevate the visitor experience. And so I want to give a shout out to the mayor's office, the city manager's staff, our city council members that are here but are supporting even if they're not here, to Visit Phoenix, to Downtown Phoenix Inc., and many, many more that have been tremendous teammates in this endeavor. It takes a village, and we've got an amazing village here in downtown Phoenix. It is my honor to introduce the leader of the city of Phoenix, a champion for women, and dare I say, a rabid women's basketball fan. We are in good hands with Mayor Kate Gallego. Thank you, Coach. Championship Valley rises again. I'm so excited to welcome the women's Final Four to downtown Phoenix. Jay, thank you for your leadership, and to all of our incredible partners from the NCAA to Sun Devil Athletics and Player 15 Group. We are going to put on a great show. The national championship and incredible fun, friendly activities for the whole family are coming to downtown Phoenix. We do an incredible job at major events, and I'm confident, Jay, that we can rise to your challenge. This will be the best women's Final Four. I am so thrilled to be here with my colleagues at the City of Phoenix. Could our Phoenix City Council members please stand? So Vice Mayor Hodge Washington, Councilwoman Betty Guardado, Councilwoman Ana Hernandez, and Councilwoman Ann O'Brien. You may notice we're a supermajority women. The fact that we have so many women in leadership in Arizona makes this Final Four even more exciting. We also have a great professional team at the City of Phoenix, including our lead on major events, Cynthia Aguilar, who is here with us, and so many great people at the City of Phoenix who are working so hard to make sure that this is a really special event for the entire community.
And I'm so proud to be mayor of a great basketball town, Phoenix, Arizona. What a year we have had with women's basketball, Coach Miller, and the incredible performance of our Sun Devils. They are so much fun to watch and just really care about the whole community. And I gotta be honest, it's coming off an incredible season for our Mercury. So. The Women's Final Four represents the pinnacle of women's college basketball, and Phoenix is so proud to stand with these incredible athletes. The championship celebrates more than greatness on the court. It builds on our success and commitment to supporting major events. We win big with local impacts for our community. We'll have a chance to celebrate thought leadership that discuss excellence in our city, support for women, and the incredible sports business environment we have here. We're in an era where now sports is an asset class you want to be invested in, and we have so many great leading companies here we'll get a chance to showcase. As the mother of a third grader, I am very excited to celebrate the Read to the Final Four, to celebrate the next generation academically. Anytime you can get more kids reading is good news to me, and just those in the environment. Those are some competitive third graders about who can read more, and they really feel the pride in the community and are very excited. So thank you to our partners at Helios for that partnership. We are also thrilled that the NCAA Women's Final Four Legacy Project, presented by Dove, will strengthen the Alhambra Village neighborhood with vital renovations at the Washington Activity Center and Councilwoman Guardado's district. And we can't wait to see the finishing touches unveiled early in April. We have some incredible young athletes here, and they are really going to enjoy this great investment. There'll be so many free events, you just have to register. Within my household, the bounce is also a favorite. Although at a previous Final Four, my child thought it was a race. But great to see those basketballs bouncing through the city of Phoenix. The great basketball is a wonderful matchup for our great city of Phoenix. Weather, if all of our media partners could report on what the weather is like in the rest of the country right now, we would really appreciate that. We're going to showcase our culture, our beautiful weather, and our friendly hospitality. So we're ready to be the center of women's basketball universe, and take a look at the screens for a glimpse of what is yet to come.
Let's go. Shout out to Cindy Brunson, getting us hyped. As we know, women's basketball is on the rise, and it's so fun to be a part of it. And what we're seeing today is sustained success, investment, and true commitment to the game. And that's what we're going to talk about in the first of two panels that we have set today. The second panel will focus on the free fan events and community initiatives coming to Phoenix as a part of the Women's Final Four. But I have a star-studded panel alongside of me, some heavy hitters joining me on the stage. Let's get right into it. I am honored to be joined by Amanda Braun, chair of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Committee, which oversees the D1 Women's Basketball Championship, focusing on student-athlete welfare and ensuring a fair, high-quality tournament. She has also served as the director of athletics at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee since 2013. And Lynn Holzman, NCAA Vice President for Women's Basketball since 2018. Lynn is responsible for the strategic direction of NCAA Women's Basketball, along with the oversight, operations, and management of the Divisions I, II, and III Women's Basketball Championships and the Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament. And Molly Miller at the end, who is in her 10th year as a college basketball head coach, in her first year as the head coach at Arizona State. And man, our host institution, by the way, what an incredible season we are seeing from Coach Miller. She has already made a splash. Her team started off the season with 15 consecutive wins. That's the best start, yes please, in program history. Give it up. And on February 14th, she set the record for the most wins by a first-year head coach in ASU women's basketball history. As I mentioned, star-studded. Let's get right into it and dive in. I want to start with the fans because we are seeing a surge in attendance, TV ratings, and of course, social media as well. I'll start with you, Molly. When you look at what we're seeing and who we're seeing show up for women's basketball, what have you noticed, and how has that been different in the past 5 to 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past 5 to 6 years, you had basketball purists show up. Yeah. And they had a reason because they loved the game of basketball. And now I think there's more interest in the stories and the players and the coaches and the programs, which really sparks interest from corporations to get involved, to alumni to come back and get involved. But what I'm really seeing in the arenas that I love are the little boys and girls with Sharpies that are ready at the tunnel. Little girls that have the same hairstyle as some of our players. I say that because I have a 9-year-old, Crosby, and her basketball team came to a game, and Marley, one of our players, had her hair in a bubble braid. So she has a ponytail, and she's got little sections of hair ties. Well, we played on a Saturday, the whole team came, and then on Sunday, I went to Crosby's game. Their whole team had a bubble braid. And so I FaceTimed Marley after their game, and I was like, Marley, look at all your little fans. And my Crosby and her teammates went wild that I had FaceTimed Crosby, and Crosby answered. So these kids really are getting the exposure to inspire this next generation.
Absolutely. Lynn, what about you?
Those are the storylines that are so meaningful and impactful, obviously from a grassroots level, but as we think about the Division I Women's Basketball Championship, and as you said, we've continued to see this growth. It's not new. We've been growing for a long period of time, and the success we've seen historically, but of course, there's been this catapult forward over the course of the last 5 years or so. Much of that can be attributed back to 2023 when we had the storylines around Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and all of that. Well, what that tells us when I mention those names is that it is about our players and our coaches. That is the number one thing out of the gate. But with that, then, we need to create these environments that fans of all ages are finding these connections to the players to understand, like, what is it I have similar or what is it about their stories that compel me to want to be part of this entire cultural phenomenon of women's sports, of which women's basketball is a preeminent leader within. So with that, when we see the successes we've had around our championship, the partnership we have with ESPN, for example, is significant. You have with ESPN the relevance and the reach because of the many different platforms that they have, the opportunity that all 67 of our games out of the 68-team championship are broadcast nationally, the international reach that we're experiencing, and again, this is because of the partnership around the championship that the NCAA has with ESPN. For example, I think it was like 162 countries last year that the men's and women's March Madness games were distributed internationally. This year it's up to, I think it's 227 countries, and it is the exact same for men's and women's basketball in 227 countries. So the global reach that we have is imperative. Showing up for games throughout the regular season and the entirety of the championship matters. We sell out women's Final Four. We have for up to close 15 years straight now. It's also important, though, that we reach back into the entirety of the championship and into the regular season to make sure we're creating this fun product, a reason for fans to come back, and those are our focus points. Last year, we saw records for both consumption through ESPN, broadcast viewership, but we also saw within the top 3 of attendance throughout the entire championship.
Amanda, I want to talk about just the different roles that you all have is so important on this stage. I mean, we talk about committee leadership, national strategy, head coaching. What decisions or even investments have you seen truly push the needle for women's basketball?
Yeah, well, on the local level, certainly, I think we've seen over the years that athletic departments and universities are valuing women's sports and women's basketball in particular. So that we're really seeing a lot of that. At the national level, we now have a situation where teams can earn units as they're in the NCAA championship for each game that they play, which is unprecedented. So there's a revenue driver there. There's something to reach for. Something to incentivize universities. So, the investments by the broadcast partner, ESPN, is huge. We're taking things out. The NCAA staff's done a fantastic job of getting things out on social channels. Autumn, you've done a wonderful job on behalf of women's basketball of that. And that's getting people's attention. I think we have hit a flywheel. I think this is where we are for a reason. Quality of the teams, the stories of these wonderful women who are on the court, and all the work that people are doing to make it happen.
Lynn, what about you? What have you seen push the needle for women's basketball?
I would emphasize again, I think that the different platforms that we have to meet fans where they are at and all the demographics of fans. And that's what you also see with the type of fans we have in women's basketball is that it's all different age brackets. And we've seen particular growth recently, for example, in consumption through ESPN of the championship of the age bracket of 18 to 34-year-old women. Why is that? Well, some of it is because of, the connectivity to the players, the name, image, and likeness, NIL, the changes that have happened within the NCAA provides avenues for our players to really, their personal brands to be put out there, of which when I talk about those age demographics, there's a different type of connection that can be made. We've seen the carryover, if you will, from the WNBA and otherwise, where both NCAA college women's basketball and the WNBA really are working off of one another because it's primarily our players that end up in the WNBA, but you also see the case of the WNBA recognizing and reaching back into the college space, the examples that those players serve, again, whether it's fashion, how they use social media, the name, image, and likeness efforts around that. So to add to everything that's already been said, I think that's one in particular that has really helped transform our game and, again, meet fans where they're at.
Coach, with all of these changes, what have you noticed from your lens, how that directly impacts the sport?
Well, I think from the digital media is so important, and I'll add to that storytelling through digital media. I just became an Alana Myers-Taylor bobsledding fan because I learned about her story as a mother, and now she's the oldest U.S. women's gold medalist. And so I don't know if I would have watched that bobsledding race if I didn't learn about her story before. So storytelling is really important. You know, if someone can't go to a game, they can stream a game while they're cooking dinner. They can share a highlight. They can send a graphic through their group text of alumni. So I think just sharing, especially the digital media space, has been so important for our game.
I completely agree. I have the honor and privilege of sharing these athletes, even coaches' stories, and just to peel back those layers of who these people are off the court. Adversity, comebacks, what keeps them going, that's so special. And if you can make that connection, that creates fandom. You want to follow those stories along the way. So I have the honor and privilege of doing that with the NCAA. So grateful to cover these incredible women that we're seeing take on the court. Molly, I want to stay with you because as a head coach, we're seeing this surge in visibility, which directly impacts student athletes when you think about expectations, NIL, just everything that they're asked to do. How have you seen that kind of shift in a way in this era?
Yeah, I mean, everything's amplified. You know, recruiting's faster and broader. Media is constant. Expectations are higher. NIL's the real deal. So here I am seeing student athletes having to brand and market and educate themselves on what that looks like, up their game in financial literacy, time management. I didn't have to do any of that as a player. Now, could I wanted to maybe do a camp and monetize it? Absolutely. But I think what they're doing is great. I believe that they're getting a head start. You know, NIL is transformational. It's real world profiting from their hard work, which it's going to help their future. I think as a coach, it's my responsibility to make sure that they're equipped with these resources to succeed and take advantage of the marketplace. Also keep them grounded in their priorities. Make sure they're humble, and we always say the work is the reward. That's one of our sayings in our program. So to make sure that they love the grind, they understand how to use it and that opportunity moving forward. But they've been well equipped, and I'm really proud of the responsibility that they've taken, and these student athletes are seeing some huge and tremendous advantages to this NIL era.
Yeah, these women are bosses on and off the court. Their day-to-day lives.
Little mini entrepreneurs.
Exactly, and they are crushing it. I love to see it. What will be the next benchmark for women's basketball, the next indicator that truly lets us know that this game is pushing forward and reaching another level? Lynn, I'll start with you.
I think there's two things I'm going to point out. One, just to build on first the player side of it. We haven't said this, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. They are damn good basketball players. The skill.
Yeah, clap.
You can clap.
Absolutely. Yes.
So it's not just everything else that's happening. It is also the fact that what we see on the floor as a sports fan, as a basketball fan, you also know when you see good basketball. The game is so different than when the four of us played at the college level. The players are more skilled, they're more athletic, they are quicker, they're more physical. It is a beautiful game to see that. So I think as we continue to see the evolution of the sport itself, inherently you're going to continue to see the evolution of the game of basketball in the way that women play it. The second thing, when we talk about really what's next, one thing I will point out around the championship specifically, we continue to embrace the partnership we have with ESPN, and you'll hear in a little more around some of the initiatives around that, and really how ESPN continues to lean in as our broadcast rights partner for the championship, but also what they do around the regular season to amplify the sport, in addition to other broadcast entities that are out there. The viewership for this season, ESPN recently reported, is I believe it's 33% up year over year for the regular season. So you know that when you have entities that it's visible, you can see it, the fans respond to that because they're also demanding it. And the last thing I would point out for the championship, as we look toward the future, because of the demand we've seen around the viewership and the attendance, in 2027 and in 2028, our women's 2028 and 2029, the women's Final Four is going to be in 2 domed venues. Now, it's going to be seating that reaches up to around 30,000, like a half set of a dome. And that is because we've had such demand around our championships. So the strategic decision with the committee around that and to really lean into that fans want to be directly engaged and come to our events is something in Indianapolis in 28 and 29 San Antonio that we're really looking forward to, and to learn what does that mean for our championship and if that's something that continue to be contemplated for the future.
Amanda, if there's one unlock that could push this game even further, what would that be?
Well, I think in the national level, things are happening as they should. You know, I think the multimedia partners, I think the NCAA is doing a great job. We're going to need to be on the local level even more aggressive about supporting women's sports and within athletic departments and in communities, making sure that women's sports, women's basketball right now is the highest profile collegiate sport, really gets that attention and gets the support that it needs. So that's sort of on us, right? The membership to continue to carry this forward.
I love it. Thank you, everyone, for your insight and everything that you do for the game. We so much appreciate it. And as we learned in this panel, the growth of this sport is directly tied to the intentional
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, March 4th, 2026 Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The time is 10:05, and I'd like to introduce City Attorney Jennifer Vega. Ms. Vega, please explain the role of the public comment.
Mr. Chair and committee members, during citizen comment, members of the public may address the subcommittee for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the subcommittee members to listen to the comments, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on the matters presented. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the subcommittee. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose their opportunity to continue to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to introduce our interpreter, Elsie Duarte. Ms. Duarte, will you please provide your brief announcement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Elsie Duarte, and I will be providing Spanish interpretation during today's Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee session. I will now take a moment to address our Spanish-speaking audience. Buenos días, mi nombre es Elsie Duarte. Estaré interpretándole a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana durante la sesión del Subcomité de Seguridad Pública y Justicia. Para escuchar la reunión en español presencialmente, favor de pasar por unos audífonos ubicados a la entrada de la sala de cámaras. Las personas registradas para hacer un comentario público sepa que podrán hablar libremente sin interrupciones durante el tiempo disponible. Sus comentarios serán interpretados al momento que usted termine de hablar. Gracias. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Duarte. Okay, the first item is a call to the public, and I do not believe we have anybody, none at all. Thank you very much for that. Item number 1 is approval of the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting minutes from February 4th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much with that. Item number 2 is an overview from the Phoenix Police Department's Crime Lab, talking about their services and functions offered by the Crime Lab itself. Welcome to the table, Assistant Director Jody Wolf, and have her introduce everybody with her and the star of the show as well.
Good morning, Chairman Robinson, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to talk to you about the Laboratory Services Bureau. I'm joined by the laboratory's leadership team, which include our new lab administrator, Ben Swanholm, newly promoted on Monday, and then our two assistant crime lab administrators, Amanda Gallegos and Shauna Hilliard, and then of course, the star of the show, which is Beaker. I'm going to take a few minutes to allow Ben to introduce himself since it's the first time he's had the opportunity to be in front of you today.
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, thank you for inviting us here today to talk about the laboratory and the great things the team does. Just a little info about myself. I've worked at the City of Phoenix since I got a position at the laboratory after interning with the city, and I've been here for 20 years. And it's the greatest honor, and I'm very proud to be leading the laboratory. Thank you.
Congratulations on your promotion to a new position.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Our department's laboratory, Chairman Robinson and members of the committee, was established in 1960. And interestingly enough, we actually occupied the kitchen in the Elks Lodge at 320 West Washington Street. We were staffed originally with 2 chemists, and our first laboratory director was Mr. William Collier. In 1975, we moved to the basement of the current Phoenix Police Department headquarters, located at 620 West Washington Street. We spent more than 3 decades in this facility, and this time frame is really marked by tremendous growth within the laboratory. We both expanded staff and services. This time frame is also marked by 2 really important milestones for our laboratory. The first of which is we became a DNA laboratory in 2000 and allowed us to participate in the combined DNA index system, which Ben will share a little bit more information about that here in a few minutes. And then we also achieved our accreditation to national standards from ASCLD Lab. Please bear with me. ASCLD Lab stands for the American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors Laboratory Accreditation Board. This was a huge achievement for us, and we achieved that accreditation in 2001. In 2007, we moved across the street to a state-of-the-art facility located at 621 West Washington Street. Today, we are accredited by ANAB to international standards ISO 17025 for testing and calibrating laboratories. We are the largest full-service crime laboratory in the state of Arizona, and we have 170 authorized positions. For the last 10 years, we have averaged 22,000 laboratory reports being issued on an annual basis, and that's associated with more than 67,000 items of evidence on an annual basis. The laboratory's mission is to provide the highest quality forensic science services to our community with integrity, innovation, and impartiality. As I mentioned, we're a full-service crime laboratory, which means that we offer all the traditional forensic science services that are primarily practiced in the United States today. And Ben's going to walk you through all of these sections.
Thank you, Jody. So the first section we're going to discuss is toxicology. And the toxicology section takes blood and urine samples from individuals involved in crimes and tests them for drugs or alcohol. A large percentage of the work that they do is related to DUI investigations, impaired driver investigations, but they also support homicide investigations as well as drug-facilitated sexual assault investigations as well. A drug-facilitated sexual assault investigation is one where the victim may have had drugs in their system that may have contributed as a part of that crime. The next section is our controlled substance section, which is often referred to also as the drug section. This section is going to test samples that have been collected in the field by our investigative sworn officers to determine whether they are controlled substances. So they're testing potentially for drugs that are controlled, like cocaine, heroin, those sorts of things. The next section is our evidence screening section. This section processes in 2 different ways. They process to develop latent prints, which are prints that can be found on objects, but also for biological evidence. Biological evidence being blood, semen, hairs, cells, or saliva. And what they find often goes to other sections in the laboratory. And our next is latent print comparative, where they enter prints from crime scenes. We call those unknown latent prints. Currently, the system is called Automated Biometric Identification System, or ABIS. Previously, this was AFIS, Automated Fingerprint Identification System. With the advancement in identifications and biometrics, they have adjusted the database as well as what it's called. But we're going to use that system to help identify unknown prints, as well as that team also will compare prints from crime scenes to direct individuals. Our next section, which is forensic DNA, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this one, and specifically those bullet points, because they do a lot of different DNA work. So the first bullet point there is STR analysis. STR is standard tandem repeat. In forensics, we like acronyms, so you're going to see a lot of acronyms. This is the standard DNA analysis that you've known since the 2000s. And what you get when you do the analysis is that graph there, which you have peaks. If you have two numbers at one location, one number came from your mom, one number came from your dad. If you have one number, that means both your mom and your dad had the same number. And so we use a combination of those peaks and compare them to known individuals to make identifications. YSTR analysis is similar, except for adding the Y, which is the Y chromosome. So the Y chromosome is a chromosome found only in males, but it is passed through the male lineage. So your father had the same one, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, etc. So we're able to connect and identify individuals in some circumstances using this chromosome. The next one is rapid DNA. So this is a different instrument, and this is an instrument that we can utilize in investigative purpose situations to process certain samples within 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on circumstances. This helps us identify individuals, especially in critical public safety situations. Then we have familial DNA analysis, which is a partnership with the state laboratory. So they will use profiles developed to help compare against profiles in a database to identify individuals that may be related to the person, to try to identify the person who committed the crime, which is similar to what you've probably heard frequently recently in the news with forensic genetic genealogy, where they've solved numerous cold cases that are 15, 20, 30, 50 years old using genetic genealogy, which is we test more areas and samples, and then we're using databases like 23andMe and those sorts of types of databases to find relatives of individuals. The reason being is the CODIS, or Combined DNA Index System, only contains profiles of individuals that have been involved in a criminal investigation, and not all individuals are in CODIS. And so frequently we're going to have to identify individuals using those genetic genealogy databases because we have a profile from a case, but we don't know whose it is. Just a little bit of the stats on CODIS is that we have the most samples that have been entered in the state. We've entered 34,558 samples from casework since we started in 2000, and we've had 7,370 investigations that have been aided through CODIS. Just another note on casework and often DNA, it gets discussed that you should have a profile like CSI, or we should solve cases like CSI and TV show in an hour. It doesn't really work that way across the board in our investigations. Typically, a case will take easily 40 hours of investment effort on various teams for us to resolve and process all of that forensic evidence. The next thing I'd like to talk about is something we've worked really hard on over the last several years and received a lot of support from the whole council regarding funding and applying for grants to support these efforts. This is our current sexual assault kit evidence backlog. You can see that the totals have reduced overall. At the end of last month, we had 300 pending, which is a lot of hard work from the team over the last several years. The next section is our firearms section. This is a section where they test firearms collected from crime scenes and to determine whether that firearm was used in a crime, homicide, aggravated assault, shootings, those sorts of things. One of the things to note there is NIBIN, or the National Integrated Ballistic Network. So we talked about CODIS and ABIS. Well, NIBIN is the same sort of thing except for casings. So casings found at crime scenes get entered into the system to be searched, and where you can match from one scene to a next where the same gun may have been used. And then we have trace and debris. We are the only laboratory in the state and one of few in the nation that still do gunshot residue testing. That testing is where when a gun is fired, gunshot residue comes out of the firearm and goes on the people or objects within that room, so we can test it to determine whether that person may have been present when a gun was fired. And we also do fire debris, which we help our arson investigations a lot, duct tape, explosives, and footwear, and tire impressions. Last but not least is our crime scene response section. This is a team that staffs 24/7, and they are the team that is out at the scenes doing a lot of the very hard and difficult work of processing these crime scenes for 10, 12 hours at a time in the heat and those sorts of things. They are recovering and collecting the evidence that is often then processed in the laboratory to assist with those investigations. And then we have more administrative, but really a big key to the success of the efficiency and effectiveness of our laboratory. So we have a team that does case management. So we get thousands of cases requested a year, as you could see from the 22,000 reports that we author. So we need to ensure that we're working with the best evidence and the best science. So this team works with our investigative partners in the detective details to manage those cases and ensure that resources are being used effectively. Another part of that team and what they help with is it helps us to reduce the task irrelevant information. And what that means is the scientists need to do the science. They need to evaluate the evidence and provide the facts based on what the science tells them. And we help to remove communication with detectives, attorneys, and those sorts of things from the actual science and conclusions. And so this case management investigative team is the liaisons with the investigative unit and attorneys to help separate individuals and remove bias or influence or bias from those situations.
Thank you, Ben. Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, one of the things that we wanted to be able to share with you today is the achievements of the men and women of the laboratory, in addition to the casework and the scenes that they process on a daily basis. And they've really embraced our mission, and the results of that labor has created an opportunity for our laboratory to be recognized as a national leader across many different categories. The first of which that I'm going to discuss today deals with the establishment of forensic science standards and best practices for forensic science. At the international level, we have members that sit on the ISO Technical Committee 272, which establishes international requirements for the practice of forensic science across the globe. At a national level, we have the OSAC Federal Registry of Standards. OSAC stands for the Organization of Scientific Area Committees, and this body oversees the Federal Registry of National Standards for the practice of forensic science. In 2021, our laboratory was recognized as an OSAC implementer because these standards are optionally adopted by laboratories. And so our laboratory, in order to support producing the highest quality forensic science standards, which is directly related to our mission, we have to be at the front end of establishing those standards for both requirements and practices as we conduct our daily business. And so in 2021, we were recognized as an OSAC implementer because we optionally adopted those standards, and at the time, we'd adopted more of these standards than any other laboratory in the United States. When it comes to establishing best practices, typically there are technical working groups that are established both at the national and at the international level. We have international members that contribute to the effort in the United States. We have members of our laboratory that sit on these technical working groups, and they cover topics, this is not an exhaustive list, but topics like digital evidence, 3D tool mark technologies, forensic laboratory needs, and DNA mixture interpretation. When it comes to innovation, the National Institute of Justice recognized our laboratory as leading the effort in their report to Congress on the needs of forensic laboratories and medical examiners. And they identified our evidence screening approach and the case management approach as being leading in the United States, as been shared with you previously. This allows us to combine both efficiencies as well as best practices. And in 2021, we were awarded the Foresight Maximus Award from the American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors for achieving 90% efficiency with our operations. And then finally, and one of the topics that I am most passionate about, deals with creating a national presence and being a national leader in employee wellness. In forensics, often the vicarious trauma, stress, and burnout has gone unattended historically. We often talk about the trauma that first responders experience as a result of interceding and acting on behalf of the public's safety. These individuals that work in the laboratory spend 10, 12, 14 hours at scenes and process evidence from violent crimes day in and day out. And so recognizing the needs of our employees and wanting to be able to provide them with resources and tools, we committed to employee wellness in our laboratories. We incorporate this topic in our onboarding. We've established a health and wellness committee, which Shauna and Amanda lead, and they've presented at national conferences on the things that we do in our laboratory. We have trained peer support members to provide immediate support to employees whenever they may be going through something that's difficult or experience crisis. The Health and Wellness Committee, as well as other members of our laboratory, coordinate employee events to celebrate the relationships that we build, not only within our sections, but across the laboratory. We focus on sharing information, not only about employee wellness topics, but also just the things that are going on in the laboratory and providing introductions to new employees. And then we host employee appreciation events. The picture in the bottom left corner is actually a picture from our supervisors who host an employee appreciation breakfast annually. They come in and they cook breakfast, they buy everything, they cook breakfast for our employees, and we break bread together. And then every year in September, we also do National Forensic Science Week. This is a national celebration of forensic scientists. This past year, Mayor Gallego issued a proclamation in recognition and support of Forensic Science Week, and we're able to help celebrate that through an entire week of our employees. With that, Chairman Robinson, and oh, sorry, goodness. We have to recognize the star of the show. Beaker. We have had the opportunity, the great fortune to have Beaker join our laboratory family. Please meet Beaker. He is amazing. He was received through our partnership with the Phoenix Police Foundation and the Fetch Foundation. And he has been a tremendous member to our family in the laboratory. He literally brings a smile to everybody's face. When we just showed him, everybody in the room smiled. He gives you hugs. He walks around the laboratory. We have treats. And Beaker's birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday, Beaker. And we are just so fortunate to be able to have him when we present on employee wellness topics with our colleagues across the community. Everybody's like, how do we get a Beaker? He brings so much joy to the members of our laboratory, and we're incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have him join us. And so with that now, Chairman Robinson, we will entertain your questions from you and the committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And before I make any comments, I have a couple questions. I'll go to my colleagues first. Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Chair. I think I heard you correctly, but if I didn't, please correct me. You said that we were one of the few labs that test gunshot residue?
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilwoman O'Brien, yes, that is correct. We're one of the few laboratories in the United States that test for gunshot residue, and the only laboratory in the state of Arizona.
And why is that?
Gunshot residue, as I mentioned, is residue that comes out from a gun when it's fired, but it also goes everywhere. And so in some circumstances, it is not necessarily conclusive that someone fired a gun. They could have been in the presence of a gun. And so it's not necessarily if someone has gunshot residue on them that they committed a crime. And so the investment and time that it takes to do the test is significant. So one test will take 24 hours. And so there's not a lot of capacity in many laboratories to be able to support that testing in that environment to assist those investigations. We've worked with our investigative teams in the detective bureaus, and they have found that this information is helpful and useful for those investigations. So we want to continue to provide that service to assist those investigations.
Okay, I'd love to have a follow-up meeting to learn more about that, and I appreciate the answer, but I'm curious to learn more. I also want to ask, you're on page, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around, but I think it was slide 11 on the sexual assault kit backlog, end of year total. So are those cases that have been completed for 2025? So this is, or for all the years, I guess, that's how many we got through and completed?
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilwoman O'Brien. So the graph that's showing there is the end year totals of what was pending in the backlog. So at the end of 2025, that is the total that was pending in the backlog.
Pending in the backlog.
So when we talk about the graph on the left, the blue one, which is internal, not at a contracted lab, those are kits that we have that are either in process internally or we have not sent to a private outsource vendor to process. The cases on the right that are in yellow would be those in process at a vendor laboratory. So even though the backlog currently at the end of last month was 300, over 223 of those were at the contractor's lab being processed. Does that help to answer that question?
Yes, so that helps to explain the slide. And if I could get follow-up on, is this the full of our backlog? Because it doesn't include 2026 numbers. So is there additional backlog from 2026?
So Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilwoman O'Brien, so we have a current backlog, and that number that I mentioned to you of 300 is the number at the end of February.
As of February,
yes.
Okay, thank you. And then you talked about 170 staff members for the lab. Do you know how many of those are filled versus vacant?
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilwoman O'Brien, we have roughly 10 vacancies currently in combination from multiple different sections throughout the laboratory.
Okay. And how is the turnover for the lab?
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilwoman O'Brien, the turnover is relatively consistent with what we would expect on average. We have around a 10% turnover across the board in the laboratory. Some sections or disciplines within the laboratory have higher turnover versus other sections, but that is on average.
So if I just want to make sure I understood. So you're saying our lab is commensurate with other labs relative to turnover rate, even within each department. It's not higher or lower.
Councilman Robinson, members of the committee, Councilman O'Brien, that is based on my knowledge of an overall average of staff turnovers that exist in organizations with 170 personnel that range in ages from they just started to that they have 30 years and are retiring or going and doing other things. Around a 10% average is average. I'm not aware of the turnover averages of other forensic laboratories in the state or in the nation at this time.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, and sorry, Councilman Waring, do you have any questions? Okay, I just had a couple, and actually, Councilwoman O'Brien hit on the vacancy issue. I was going to ask that question. Then on the, just a real quick follow-up on the sex crime evidence kit, the backlog. Of those 300 in the backlog, how old, I mean, give me an idea of how it's prioritized, what actually gets analyzed first.
Yeah, Chairman Robinson, members of the committee. So we, along with that case management process, we process cases identified based on the circumstances, and if someone has been arrested, court needs, those sorts of things. We are working towards and have been targeting trying to do them as soon as they come in. And so our contracted vendors, they have 90 days to return the evidence and the results once we've received that information from them. And so then it takes us roughly 30 to 60 days, depending on the load of cases that the team currently has, to resolve reporting those results after receiving the results back from the external vendor.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And the very last, I think it's more of a statement, or if you guys can expound on it a little bit. Obviously, crime lab employees are subjected to going to court because they're obviously out there with the homicides, sex crimes, robberies, whatever the crime may happen to be. How much of their time is taken up by court time testimony, or courtroom testimony, I should say?
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, I don't have an exact figure number of that, but we do actually track that on our monthly basis of how many hours. I just don't have it. Oh, Amanda may have it.
And more than anything else, I really wasn't looking for a number. I was just kind of making that point that I think it's important for folks to understand that our crime lab folks are doing more than just in the crime lab doing scientific stuff, half of which I don't understand. But I can tell you that clearly every major investigation that I can think of in the last, I'll really age myself, in the last 40 years, I think the only person in the room older than me is Joe Klima, but in the last 40 years or so, every major investigation Phoenix Police Department has had, really, there is a great deal of the success of those investigations was because of the work of the folks in the crime lab. So with that, if there aren't any more questions, I want to thank you guys very much for your presentation. Truly appreciate it. Happy birthday, Beaker. And I know there's a lot more that I think we'll be following up individually with you folks in the crime lab. But thank you for your time. Truly appreciate it. We're in a bit of a time crunch, and about 5 minutes. And Ms. Vega, if I can ask you a quick question. If we lose a member and we go down to 2 on an item that is just it's not for action, can we continue, or do we have to adjourn the meeting? Because the next item is an update on the police department's public safety efforts in the downtown area. Can we follow through with that, or?
Chair Robinson and committee members, generally what can occur is you can continue a conversation. You cannot answer questions. You can't ask questions. You can only receive information.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll go ahead and proceed. Or did you?
I guess, what are we going to, is it going to have to come back again, though, so that members can ask questions and get more information?
The question to the chair was, will we bring that particular item back so the questions can be asked? And maybe to play it safe, maybe what we will do, and folks with the downtown unit, I apologize for this, but we're not going to have enough time. We'll lose quorum in just a couple of minutes. So we had already scrubbed one item. We're going to scrub the third item as well. The downtown operations unit will reschedule. We'll sit down with Assistant City Manager Lori Bays and figure out a way through that. So the last item right now, so that we can continue, will be a call to the public, and I have one person, Ms. Chanel Poe. Ms. Poe, you have a comment you'd like to make? If you can step up to the podium over here to my right, your left.
Chairman Robinson, members of the committee, my name is Chanel Poe, proud District 8 resident. I wanted to talk to you about some pedestrian safety. I was very grateful maybe 7 years ago for Phoenix Streets installing 2 high-intensity crosswalk beacons on 33rd Street in Van Buren and 36th Street in Van Buren, so cars can come to a full, complete stop on that historic Arizona highway. However, sometimes when you press the button, it doesn't immediately turn red. We have high traffic of families that are trying to commute, get connected to buses. Students are trying to catch buses, and there could be an influx of traffic, and it's just a really busy corridor. So I just ask that we make sure that that pedestrian hawk beacon, once it's pressed, it immediately goes into action so people are able to make their connections and that they don't risk their lives. It's also near shelters where families use strollers and have little ones, and we just want to ensure safety for everyone. I also wanted to talk about making several former complaints regarding the pedestrian stoplight at 28th Street and East Camelback. The signal against pedestrians, sometimes when the light turns green or turns red, other cars from opposite directions can come, but their walk sign does not light up, which can cause confusion, and it doesn't illuminate, and it presents an unsafe condition. Even when the walk signal does activate, drivers routinely ignore the pedestrian cross sign. So we're using a crosswalk, but the pedestrians who are trying to make a left and go the same area that we're walking, it just causes really confusion and huge safety concern. I personally have been nearly hit multiple times on Camelback trying to cross the street utilizing the crosswalk. And I don't see these drivers being fined or cited. It likely doesn't happen. So the question becomes, who is protecting the pedestrians who are lawfully crossing the streets but are at risk of being struck? Additionally, on Camelback and 26th Street, going southbound crossing, vehicles exiting the Esplanade frequently speed through the light, almost nearly hitting pedestrians. As a pedestrian, you literally have to make eye contact with a vehicle that is trying to turn, because if you don't, the likelihood of them speeding through, it could just be a really scary situation. I also want to just say that I've experienced this firsthand, and to the point where I felt afraid to cross the street, making this direct eye contact. I rarely see a police presence in the Esplanade and Camelback area doing any type of traffic enforcement or recognizing pedestrian safety, yet I see patrol cars up and down East Van Buren corridor frequently. Why is enforcement visible there, but not along Camelback, where pedestrian safety is high and safety risks are evident? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I have a pretty good idea on future agenda items and such. And with that, the time being, I have 10:40. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, no problem. Chief Warrender, Dennis Warrender, can you guys hold on a sec?
The women are going to be really proud of the event we put on.